we've heard Oregon Trail on the podcast like multiple times. I wonder how many individuals that game has influenced into getting into IT, learning about more about computers and things like that. I mean, me personally, like I remember growing up playing Oregon Trail as.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for joining us on another episode of The Download here from Tier 4 Advisors HQ in Alpharetta, Georgia. My name is Jake Sherrill. I'm the founder and chairman of Tier 4 Advisors. Joel Andersen, VP of Marketing. You want to say hi to everybody?
Always. Yep. Glad to have Reggie McNeill here from Sysco.
Reggie, it's so great to have you. Thank you so much for your time in advance. Reggie McNeill, CTO, Platform Services, and Digital Infrastructure at Sysco. Reggie, say hi to the group watching, tuning into our podcast all over the world.
Hello, everybody. Looking forward to talking to you. And Jake, it's always good to get caught up with you again.
Absolutely. My pleasure, sir. Thank you so much. A quick reminder of what the Download podcast is. News and notes from technologists, leaders, CIOs, CTOs from all over the world. As a matter of fact, we want to bring their knowledge, their ideas, their leadership to you, the listener. So our goal today is to do exactly what we've done, 20, 30, 40 times already?
Whoa.
Whatever the number is, right? Here from the Download Studios, mid-20s. Okay. And, give you an idea again of, some different news and notes from Reggie. So again, Reggie, thank you so much for joining us. Real quick, Tier 4 Advisors is a company that I founded 9 years ago on the premise of helping simplify and expedite different projects for IT professionals. The average IT professional does 1 or 2 data center transformational projects in their entire career. Is that hard to believe, Joel? 1 to 2.
But they're big. They're scary.
They're big.
I can only see why they don't want to do 1 or 2, right?
Right. So if you're doing 1 or 2 of these types of projects, whether that's, a data center project or a big telecom project, or even, think about it as building your own home, right? There's a time and a place certainly to do something yourself. There's also a time and a place to go out and find a general contractor who's maybe built 500 homes before.
Indeed. Trust the experts. Been there, done that,
and I use this analogy. If you're going to go hike Mount Everest, would you go do it yourself for the first time?
No.
You'd go get a Sherpa, right? That was born and raised.
That's like a guaranteed way to fail.
Right.
You're going to die.
That would not be very good. So again, Tier 4 Advisors, over 700 vendors in our vendor agnostic database, 5 areas of expertise: data center, telecom, managed services, security compliance, and what we call emerging tech. A lot of subcategories in there. We'll put something up here on the screen to further explain who we are and what we do. If you or anyone has a need or a project, you can find us at tier4advisors.com, or you can reach out to your local regional president or Tier 4 Advisors affiliate, whether that is Seattle, Southern California, Arizona, Philly, Boston, Nashville, Atlanta, or a number of other cities all over the country. All right. Now that we're done with the commercial, let's jump right in, shall we?
Let's do it.
Reggie, go ahead and introduce yourself to the crowd. I know you've already said hello, but give us an idea who you are, what you do, maybe size of your team, what your daily or weekly or monthly responsibilities are over there at Sysco.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Reggie McNeill, the CTO of Platform Services, Digital Infrastructure with Sysco, and I oversee all the compute environments. That includes cloud, networking, field services, service management. Even I have some knowledge learning management, believe it or not, part of my organization to help us with our self-service and automation components. My team comprises of both internal full-time employees as well as a number of external resources, contractors, some managed services operations in there. So about 375 internal FTEs. But when you factor in all the contractors and managed services, it swells to about a little over 600 resources that I bring to bear to do our day-to-day functions across Sysco. Very large.
That's fantastic.
A lot going on across the organization. Sysco, we are a Fortune 100 organization, the largest in terms of food distribution to what we call a food away from home industry, whereas you have food delivered by some of your grocery stores that's considered food at home, where Sysco focuses on the food away from home in our restaurants, in our sports venues, schools, government facilities, things like that, where people are eating food away from home. That is where we operate primarily in today.
Do you have any idea? I'm just curious, going off script here for a second. How often, or what's the average eating out of the home per day or per week for the average American? Is it once a day? Is it 1.5 times a day? Is it, 15 times a week? What is that number? Any idea?
Yeah, it varies by market, and particularly this time that we're in what called the post-COVID era, is significantly higher than what it was prior to 2020. So today, I don't have a specific number, but it's pretty high because it's keeping us really busy, which is a good thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I find myself sometimes eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner out of the home because of work related things, right? And those of us who do a lot of traveling or oftentimes meet with clients or partners in a food setting, you tend to, say to yourself, hey, I got to eat anyways. Might as well do the meeting over a meal. It's always nice to be able to enjoy that, obviously, but also it's nice to have a home cooked meal from time to time, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Yeah, indeed. Well, good stuff. Thank you for that background. We want to kind of jump right in and let's talk about, obviously, you've made a lot of strides since the answer of this first question, but let's talk about Reggie McNeill's first job. What did you do as your first job, if you wouldn't mind letting us know? We've had answers, by the way, from McDonald's to working on the family farm to coding to washing cars or selling artwork, but would love to hear what your first job was.
Yeah, so my first job, that's a good question. My first job was actually my first company as well, where I borrowed $25 from my mom and went to the local hardware store, and I bought me this really nice Briggs and Stratton lawnmower, right? Because it was shiny red. And I took that lawnmower and I would go around the community and cut grass. So back in the late 70s, I would charge like $5 or $6 for a yard to be cut. And that was a lot of money back then. So I was able to take that money, go buy my own Nikes, buy my own backpack, because I didn't like the clothes that my mom bought. So she always told me, well, if you don't like what I buy you, then you need to work and pay for your own clothing. So that's what I did. So I had my own company and my own job at about 10, 11 years old.
That's fantastic. I'm going to stay on that subject, one entrepreneur to another. I think it's wonderful when people are entrepreneurial spirited. How long did that company last? Did you do that through your senior year of high school or into college, or how long?
No, it lasted a couple of years until I was about 14, 15, and I was able to get my driver's permit. So I was too cool to cut grass then. So had to move on and do something else.
That's great. Good stuff. All right. So how did you go from starting your own landscaping business when you were 11 or 12, buying your own lawnmower, the whole bit, to getting into IT? What was that transition like?
Yeah, I've always had an interest in technology. Going back to elementary, where we played on the Apple computer, everybody did the little Oregon Trail. We had to figure out things and answer questions, and the little wagon moved along the map. So I always was interested in how is this machine able to interact with a human, right? So that was my first interest around technology. And I remember being at that young age, I really wanted to open the computer up to see were there any bells and whistles in there, was some small mice running around on a treadmill. How was this machine able to interact with a human? So that really sparked my interest around technology. And then from there, it just grew to the point where I was in college and I took programming courses and learned about binary language and things of that nature. So it really has always been there. And over the years, it kind of evolved more to be on the compute side, more of the development side of the house. But that interest in technology itself has always been there for me.
Yeah, that's fantastic. When we are intrigued or curious about things, it evolves into something bigger and better at times, right? And it appears that it's evolved into a great career for you.
We've heard Oregon Trail on the podcast like multiple times. I wonder how many.
Oh, really?
How many individuals that game has influenced into
Mhm.
getting into IT, learning about more about computers and things like that. I mean, me personally, like I remember growing up playing Oregon Trail as many others.
You played you're really young.
Or I mean, I'm 35. I mean, I used Oregon Trail, played Oregon Trail. But we did it in school as part of the school curriculum.
Yeah, so did we. Since Reggie brought up the Mac computer, or back in the day, I think it was the Apple computer, right? Back in the day, it sat on the desk and it had that little maybe 5-inch by 5-inch screen. Got to ask, did you ever play Frogger on the Apple computer back in the day?
We did. We played Frogger, and there was another. It was like the early version of Astros. It was and then there was Pong, I think, came out, so a couple of games. So again, for me, the games were interesting, but I still wanted to know, how is this machine able to interact with a human? It was just
that's cool.
One of those fascinating things for me.
I grew up in Northern California. We were always around technologists and seeing these people that, one day they're innovating something, the next day they're a billionaire, right? It's pretty wild world out there. But that Apple computer was, very, very interesting, especially back in the mid to late 80s, as more people bought it and more your friends, had one as well, and playing Frogger and stuff. It was, good stuff, good times. All right. Well, so IT is a fun field to be in, right? A lot of challenges, a lot of other stuff. But what do you enjoy most about being in the IT field, would you say?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll probably have to say, Jake, it's the dynamics of the field itself, right? So when I first came into my first IT job, it was more of a field service technician, where my job was supporting the end users, installing computers, laptops, and doing the imaging and things like that. And from there, I was able to, get into another group, evolve, and work on storage. I even did some database support, moved a little bit to the application side of the house. So I would say the most exciting part is being able to move around in the dynamics of it, right? To really find your place in the technology field. I think it's so wide and so vast that you will find a home somewhere.
Absolutely. And let's talk about, accomplishments. You've accomplished a lot in your career. People know Reggie. They love Reggie. If they've worked for Reggie, they look at you as a mentor and a leader that they are thankful for working for and with. What is your greatest professional accomplishment that you would like to share with the group?
Yeah, that's another good question. I will probably say my greatest one is, being involved in the development of future or other IT leaders, right? So I have some individuals that I've worked with for a number of years, over 15 years. And when I first started working with them, to see them at the level of being a manager or supervisor, and today they're vice presidents or senior directors and other senior leaders within their own spaces, right? And then I see them in turn, developing future leaders. So to feel and know that I was a part of that effort, I mean, it's quite gratifying to understand, to see that, and
Absolutely.
To see it grow, see them grow, more importantly.
It speaks volumes of leaders when their folks become leaders themselves, right?
Yes.
And that's something that we have heard multiple times from a lot of your other peers as well. It does not surprise me to have that same answer from you. Servant leadership, growing your team, continuing to evolve, helping people get to where they want to get, finding out what others' goals are. You do a phenomenal job at that, for sure.
Yeah, and just one part of that too, Jake, is not only developing them as leaders, but helping them find their way into where they're not where they're most comfortable, but where they're positioned to be most successful.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Wonderful leadership. People love working for Reggie. And again, that speaks volumes about who you are and what you've done in your career. Let's talk about challenges. Obviously, we all face challenges in our career. What would you say your greatest challenge has been yourself that you'd like to share with the group?
Yeah, I'll probably have to say early on in my career, when I was about a manager, maybe a senior manager, it was getting over that hurdle of, terminating employees who were not performing well. Because what would happen is, you look at terminating employees, and then you have that human aspect that will come into play as, well, how are you impacting their lives? And someone, who grown up in rural North Carolina, I've been in that situation where you pretty much live from paycheck to paycheck. So any disruption in that could have a profound impact on, that household. So I got to the point where I evolved where, I said, I'm not going to terminate anybody, but I'll let you terminate yourself, right? And what I mean by that is getting to that point where you can lay down the foundations for improvement. And if you don't improve, you don't meet these, guidelines or these criterias, and it's all on you, then yes, you will be terminated. So it's getting to that point will allow them to terminate themselves versus me having to, go in there and do that. And so it's a philosophy that I've always embraced. And because I'm the type that I really believe people are salvageable, meaning that they are, you can retain that talent with some retraining, retooling, making sure they're in the right position to be successful. So I think that's probably was one of my biggest challenges, but something that I was able to tackle early on in my career. And then from there, it wasn't much of a challenge after that.
Yeah, that's great. That is definitely a challenge for all managers, right? Yeah. Is trying, there's a job to be done. You have certain metrics that you have to hit as a manager as well. Sure. You're depending on your folks to do certain things. And, there comes a time and a place in every professional environment where, there's a time and a place where it just isn't working any longer. That's sure. Not easy for sure, especially because, you care about these people, right? Sure. A lot of these people, you spend as much time or more time with them than you do even your own family. It's crazy as it sounds. It's true. So, yeah. So, Reggie, we've been friends for quite a long time. You've attended some Tier 4 Advisors VIP events, as a lot of our listeners and people that are tuning in to the Download podcast are aware, whether that's renting out the Talladega Motor Speedway or driving Porsches or tanks or the pheasant hunt that we do. So, Reggie, what's your favorite Tier 4 Advisors VIP event that you have attended?
Yeah, it has to be hands down for me, the pheasant hunt. Right. I mean, I'm from North Carolina, so I'm a country boy. I grew up with, I was about 12. I think I had my first 10-gauge shotgun, and my uncle was an advocate hunter. So going out with him and hunting rabbits and pheasants and things like that. So being able to participate in that event really brought back memories. So hands down for me, that was the best event.
That's great news. Well, thanks again for the support.
Cool. So, Reggie, a couple questions for you. As the a CTO that's a part of digital infrastructure there at Sysco, you mentioned before a Fortune 100 enterprise. We're talking, 3 billion in revenue, 326 locations around the country, 57,000 plus employees. Right? Like this is a large organization.
It's a sizable organization.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, when it comes to like a digital transformation journey with an organization that large, where do you start? What are the factors that go into kind of building out? Where do we need to start within our IT infrastructure as we evolve into the new age of what technology has to offer?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, along that journey, we kind of start where Sysco started to where we are today, right? So, Sysco started this digital transformation, this journey, really once it realized the need to be more flexible, more adaptive to our customers, right? Make it easier for our customers to do business with us, understanding how do we take that friction out of that process to make it more seamless, make it easier for the customers and our clients to do business with us. So that drove a lot of the changes around processes within Sysco. However, but when you layer in all the digital technology and then you factor that in to all areas of your business and then really fundamentally changing how you do business, that's really where you come into digital transformation. So within Sysco, it's not about really transforming us, but also transforming, our customers and how we interact with them. Keep in mind that prior to 2020, before COVID hit, a lot of restaurants didn't have takeout operations. They didn't have the little digital menus that you see on the tables today. So for them, they really struggled with how to adapt to that disruption that was hitting everyone. So Sysco, being the size and had the depth that it did, was able to make that transformation. But part of that was also caring for our customers, right? And that means sharing that technology with them. We work with a lot of customers to help them set up takeout capabilities, because a lot of our restaurants, customers, they had traditional dining restaurants where they really didn't have a takeout operation. So when we had the restrictions around in-room dining and things of that nature, they were pretty much at a risk of being totally out of business until we helped them evolve their processes, integrate digital technology into their roles and their models to really develop that takeout capabilities.
Yeah.
So for Sysco, it's not about just transforming how we do business, but also transforming how our customers interact with us as well.
Yeah.
So you kind of fast forward that to today, where we're steadily investing in new types of technology to, again, improve that capabilities, not just within Sysco, but within the industry itself. And so when you look at the left and the right boundaries of our industry, there's a whole list of technologies that's in there that's really driving this transformation. So the key things with Sysco is not about just the technology, but the embracing of change across the organization and really fundamentally changing really how we do business today compared to what we were doing just a couple of years ago.
And I know you talk about the fundamental change, and I think that's fantastic, right? Because you're enabling and empowering, the proverbial mom and pop restaurant to continue to stay relevant or continue to innovate, where maybe historically the restaurant industry didn't do a whole lot of innovating. I guess that might be fair to say, because food is food, if I can just say that without, I'm not trying to be rude, but when you look at, the support infrastructure, when you look at just kind of the overall strategy, is Sysco all in on the cloud? Are you, kind of still trying to, kind of figure all that out? Are you guys in data centers as well? What would you say your whole strategy is around kind of what everyone tuning in would probably consider a digital transformation?
Yeah, so it's kind of a hybrid cloud model, right? So we're not all in on cloud and we're not all in on on-prem compute, right? So what we like to do is look at what works best for Sysco based on the demands that we're facing, right? What allows us to pivot in the marketplace to take advantage of conditions or changes in condition. So it's based on the technology that we're leveraging and how it operates best, right? Because Sysco, as a large company and with a long history, we've been around over 50 years now, there's some legacy technology that we also need to be mindful of as well. And some of that technology is not best suited for the cloud, shall I say, right? So we have to have that model that works best based on the needs and the demands that we're trying to meet.
Good for you guys. That sounds like a fun journey for sure.
So toss this question out to both of you, but we'll start with you, Reggie. Small, medium, and large size organizations, right? Public, private, nonprofit, they all have different kind of needs. But for, the average IT leader that's out there, what advice would you give them, you as well, related to digital transformation and where to start on that journey?
Yeah, I would definitely make it part of your core business, right? It has to be more than just a marketing term, because I see digital transformation, the terms itself, kind of thrown around like cloud was just a couple of years ago. So to really be impactful and really embrace it, you really have to own it. You have to live it. You have to have I will say probably the one thing I'll leave everybody with is you must have executive level support in order to drive change throughout the organization. Without that, you're really going to face an uphill battle. Even Gartner says that really only about 25% of organizations who are on a digital transformation journey achieve the stated results of their journey, right? So why is the other 76 and 75% of the organization not or failing to meet their objectives? And if you look at all the reasons why, it normally comes down to a lack of support at normally at the executive level, CEO level, if it's a public company at the board level. But so to make it successful, and it requires all leaders, whether you're a manager, director, VP, all ranks has to adopt it and embrace it.
That's a great point. Yeah. Jake, same question to you.
Yeah, I think that Reggie hit the nail on the head, and I think to get there where you have executive buy-in and the ability to get budget and work with the stakeholders within the business, you got to be a good storyteller, and you also got to have a plan, right? And I will share, I've never been a CIO or a CTO, but I will share that on any given month, we're working with 30 to 80 CIOs or CTOs or their people on different projects here at Tier 4. And, it is interesting to me. I guess it's not shocking, but it is interesting how certain folks do struggle getting the story across, or candidly coming up with a plan. And I think that's partially why we're there, right? Is certainly to help kind of figure that part out. But it's coming up with a plan and then executing on the plan, and then candidly communicating effectively to the stakeholders, whether that's the board or the C-suite or whoever it might be, what that plan is, and then making sure that it gets done correctly, right? And again, that could be, migrating workloads to the cloud. It could be a SaaS first type of strategy. It could be, outsourcing some of the blocking and tackling or commoditized based IT work and keeping the secret sauce, money making stuff, in-house. A lot of different ways to skin the cat, so to speak. But I think it starts with exactly what Reggie said, which is buy-in and support. Certainly budget, and making sure that you have what it takes to get there as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So, what are new technologies or innovations that you're paying attention to, specifically for Sysco, but just within like the food and beverage and kind of logistics and supply chain industry, kind of the intersection of both there?
Yeah, so there's a lot of changes coming to the industry itself, and some of it is driven by regulatory requirements that's kind of been out there for a number of years or some time, but now starting to be more impactful to operations. So it's making the strong business case for technology like blockchain, for AI, automation, IoT. We have like smart warehouses, we have smart trucks. It's amazing amount of technology that we have deployed across our enterprise that allow us to operate with efficiency and allow us to make decisions based on data points, right? So to be able to correlate and have all that information readily available for our key decision makers is quite impressive. But I will say those are probably impacting us the most. And the concept around food traceability, meaning the ability to trace food as it enters your supply chain system from the point of entry to the point it exits your supply chain, that's becoming more and more of a demand now from the FDA to have companies to have that capabilities within their portfolio.
Yeah.
So as Sysco, being a leader in the industry, that's part of our remit is not only, how do we do it, but how do we share that information out and make sure that we're all safe.
Sure. So over the past 18 months, I'm sure you probably had some crazy ups and downs and maybe some bottlenecks within the logistics and supply chain area because everyone seemed to be affected by it. How did you and your team overcome any of the challenges you faced there?
Yeah, the biggest challenge was it's not the start and stop. It's more the start, the slow down with COVID, almost a stop, and then the full ramp back up, right? Yeah. So the kind of reopening of the U.S. economy, particularly as restaurants start to open, in-room dining or in facility dining was allowed, and from there it created this huge demand on our supply system, right? So, but fortunately, we had the depth, we had the breadth, and we had the flexibility already built into our environment, our ecosystem, that we were able to adapt to that demand. But we can see the strain that it puts on some of our customers. So again, it's back to being a good partner for them. So we've done things like eliminate minimum orders so we can help them be a little more flexible with their limited space for storage of food and food products, enable them to get multiple deliveries. These are all the flexibility things that we've had to take on in order to make sure that our customers are successful as well.
Yeah. And Reggie, you mentioned that you have over 300 people that are part of your team, closer to 400.
4 times, yeah.
So in today's market, there's a war on talent, kind of a candidates market right now. How are you retaining and also retaining the right kind of talent that you need to keep everything running smoothly there at Sysco?
Yeah, that war for talent is real. Okay, so we've adopted it through a number of creative ways, and we've done things like expanded the scope of where we're recruiting from. Right, traditionally, a lot of the recruitment took place traditionally here in Houston, but now we've kind of adopted the model where we're looking for resources at some of these other sites that we operate. These 326 locations that we have, we're actually looking at how we recruit talent at some of these locations and in some of these markets. So it's kind of taking that on from a perspective to expand our not portfolio, but expand our recruitment pool.
Gotcha.
And then just one note, and then the second part of that is we're continuing to invest in our what I call our supply line of talent, meaning that employees that are, say, like in the field service group that has a desire to be in the network team or in some of the other more advanced level 2, level 3 teams, we're investing in training for those individuals so that we can then grow our own talent internally and kind of move them up and give them that career path that they're seeking. So there's a couple ways that we're really addressing that war for talent that's out there.
Yeah.
And Reggie, are you guys back in the office full time? Are you requiring people back in the office? Are you guys fully remote or something hybrid, kind of in the middle?
Yeah, it's a hybrid. It's in the middle. Depends on the market and the kind of like the risk levels of the market. But for the most part, it's kind of that mix of some people are in the office and some people working remote. There was a more, I'd say a movement to be more in the office or return to the office before the Delta variant started having a major impact. So that kind of put us back to going back to the hybrid model.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people working remote. Some do come into the office, depending on if they got meetings and things like that.
We have a sister company, as a lot of you know, Tier 4 Group. You can find them at tier4group.com. They do full-time, part-time, and contract placement. That company is ran by my partner, Betsy Robinson. She founded that business almost 10 years ago. It used to be called Robinson Key, and we rebranded it a few years ago to the Tier 4 Group. It's interesting, though. She and her team are extremely busy, as you can imagine, because of kind of what Reggie alluded to earlier, where there was, a slowdown and then just that ramp, back up of not only, restaurants opening back up for eating, but also for people hiring and trying to backfill the spots that they had let go, months prior for obvious reasons with COVID. And it's interesting to see how different employers are fighting that war on talent. Whether that is fully remote or some sort of hybrid model, or bonus structures or whatever it might be. So it's always interesting to hear, what a Fortune 100 like Sysco is doing.
Well, appreciate the knowledge and insight there, Reggie. I think you've provided a lot of valuable feedback to our viewers. So
absolutely.
Spin that wheel. Wrap it up.
Reggie, every time we do one of the downloads, we spin the wheel. Usually our guest of honor is here in the studio, but again, you're in Houston, so thank you again for joining remotely.
I'll do it for you.
We're going to spin that wheel, and we'll go ahead and wrap things up.
Okay.
Number 4 for Tier 4 food. Tier 4. All right, number 4 for Tier 4. Here we go. So, Reggie, we're going to ask you, what is your top 3 favorite foods? We'll let you think on that for a second. Joel, we're going to start with you. So what is your top 3 favorite foods? Let's go with food item, shall we? Not genre.
Okay.
So your top 3 favorite food items. Be as specific as you want. Go ahead.
The only thing that comes to mind is like a nice ribeye steak with blue cheese crumbles on it.
Oh, wow.
I mean, like
that's
like ribs are good, pizza's good, that's like far and above. That's like number 1, 2, and 3 on my list. There's like a nice steak of ribeye with blue cheese on it.
Okay,
melted onto it. That's mine.
Reggie, I'll let you keep thinking about it for a second since we just sprung this on you. I'm going to be very descriptive in explaining my number 1 food item of all times, Mcneil Sushi in Sacramento, California. They have a 5-piece tuna appetizer. They cook it on a wood fire grill when they have a red sauce and a white sauce. You have to ask for both sauces because normally they'll just serve it with one of the sauces. It's phenomenal. Shout out to Mcneil. Didn't know that I was going to have a Mcneil reference here, but it's fantastic.
For those in the greater Sacramento area, go check it out.
Shout out to Mcneil. All right, another food item, a double-double from In-N-Out Burger.
No.
Come on. I'm from California. Shout out to,
you can have your opinion.
a double-double. Grilled onions, by the way. from In-N-Out Burger.
Animal style?
No, not
No?
animal style.
No?
I do the animal style fries,
Okay.
but I'm not going to put that on the top 3 of everything. All right. I will also give a shout out to a restaurant in Charleston, South Carolina, the Seafood Tower, triple decker seafood tower at the Ordinary in Charleston, South Carolina. If you ever get a chance, it's unbelievable. All right. There's my 3 food items. Is that descriptive enough? Pretty good, right?
Very descriptive. Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty
Reggie,
descriptive.
you and I have enjoyed some meals in the past together. I know that you're a foodie as I am. Working for Sysco
Yes.
is perfect, of course. So let's talk
It
about
is.
your 3 favorite food items. Go right ahead.
My favorite, number one, is a good steak, right? I love a good medium rare steak with like some garlic or butter on top and with chimes on the side. I mean, it's just, that is the meal for me all day, every day. It can be breakfast, it can be lunch and dinner.
Man, you got my mouth watering. Sounds wonderful. Now, real quick, what cut of steak? Do you like the ribeye or you prefer a filet or something else?
No, I'm a ribeye. I love the ribeye.
Yep.
Just something about that ribeye, that cut is it's very lean, and yeah, I just enjoy it.
Good. All right. Number
I like
2.
it.
Number 2 had to be, I'm switching over to dessert. I love bread pudding. I mean, it's just a taste that I've always acquired over the years, and love bread pudding, right? So I love that. And then number 3 would be a good salmon. I love a salmon that's kind of blackened on the side a little bit. A little lemon sauce on it. Yeah, love some salmon.
Well,
I can eat those 3 things all day, every day.
I will agree with Reggie because I would gladly eat all 3 of those.
I would eat any of those too.
Absolutely. I will share with you the best the best bread pudding I've ever had in the entire world is a small spot called Iggy's Pizza Shop in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. It is scratch made, homemade bread pudding to die for. I think it was a blackberry and white chocolate bread pudding with homemade vanilla ice cream. And Reggie, I'm telling you, I order bread pudding when it's on the menu pretty much everywhere I go.
I do.
This is and I think they had macadamia nuts or shaved almonds or something.
Oh,
it was
man.
unbelievable. If you're ever in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, check out Iggy's Pizza Shop.
We need to have like a new segment.
I may make a trip there just for that, because if I go to a restaurant and bread pudding is on the menu, I am ordering it.
I'm telling you, I've had 100+ bread puddings. This one is the best, and it is worth the trip.
Wow.
It really is.
All right, keep an eye out for a new
Awesome.
segment in the future where we're going to have like taste testing on the episode of the download too of our favorite desserts or steaks or whatever meals. I could get behind that.
I am actually, my mouth is watering talking about this, and I have to go coach.
Yeah.
Those double doubles.
Yeah, I'm gonna go coach third grade football right now, and I'm thinking about dinner. So good times. Hey, so if you or anyone you know has an IT project on your radar, whether it's the latter part of this year or next year, data center. So some of those subcategories are cloud, disaster recovery, digital transformation around that. Telecom, right? So telephony, SD-WAN, connectivity, wholesale aggregation, managed services, right? If you have the war on talent that you're fighting as well, maybe you're winning that war on talent, but maybe you're losing it in certain categories. If it makes sense to outsource some of the blocking and tackling to a managed services provider. Sometimes it's the proverbial, if you can't beat them, join them kind of idea. Also security and compliance. Again, these are projects that if done internally could take anywhere from 6 to 24 months. If brought to tier 4, again, not as a vendor, we're not here to sell you anything, but on average, we're looking at about a 45 to 60 day project time frame compared to a 6 to 24 month project. And again, a lot of this stuff is fluid, but we're here to help any way we can. I will share with you, we are a 4-time Inc. 5000 list recipient. Is that the right term? Recipient?
Yep.
As well as we've been running a net promoter score since 2015. We have a 97 net promoter score. So again, not as a vendor trying to sell you anything ever. No one in the entire company carries a quota. We are truly here to help. Servant leadership from our core, customer first type of ethics, and we are here to help any way we possibly can. So again, find us at tier4advisors.com or your local affiliate or regional president around the country. Reggie, it was an absolute honor having you on the Download podcast. We thank you so much for your time, your friendship, your partnership. If there's anything we can ever do to, help you or your team, please by all means let us know here at Tier 4. And we look forward to seeing you later on in the year.
Awesome. Same here. Appreciate you.
All right. Thanks so much. Everybody have a great week. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care.